what are your thoughts on El Salvador making Bitcoin not legal tender?
I love that. And I mean, there has been some controversy around the IMF deal recently. I personally think it was a clever move of Nayib Bukele, actually, of doing that, because he didn't lose anything, and he has definitely more leverage now. Bitcoin is, as we say, it gives the right. We always say, fix the money, fix the world, and Bitcoin fixes the money. But there's some fundamental truth to that. There's something extremely powerful when you adopt Bitcoin on an individual level, on a nation state level, on whatever level you take it. I have seen it so many times. And I think my podcast is also a testament a little bit towards that, because I interview not only the Michael Saylors, the big ones, but I interview people that have never been on a podcast before, that just want to share the Bitcoin story. And one thing that always comes out, that Bitcoin is always a fork in the road of their own personal journey. Something happens there. I mean, of course, there are people that have done very well before Bitcoin and done even better afterwards. But there's a lot of people where they adopted Bitcoin and they got hope back. All of a sudden, they can save in something. They never had savings. And it's actually, my girlfriend actually experienced that herself. She never had savings in her life. Now she experienced Bitcoin. Now she's excited about saving. She's like, I'm so looking forward to the salary to just save a few $100s each month to the Bitcoin. And it's because she now all of a sudden has hope again of like, oh, I can actually accumulate something. I can actually do something with that. And this financial stability, this financial security is something that gives a nation extremely hopeful thinking in the most positive way of, we can turn this thing around. And El Salvador has a lot of, like, a long way to go. It's not completely fixed, I would say. It's not like it went from 2020 to now. It's a perfect country. Obviously, it's a way harder story, but it's extremely impressive what they have done. I'm super impressed with the stories I've heard, how El Salvador was before and how I have seen it last November when I was there. I felt super safe. The country is really, really cool. It's kind of clean also. There was not like, I expected not that clean of a country. The people are extremely hopeful and extremely positive and extremely nice, way nicer than they are in Europe. So you have a country that has true potential. And that is partially because of Bitcoin, and also partially just because Nayib Bukele and the team and the country and the people are just in the right place of mind. So I'm really looking forward to seeing El Salvador in 10 years, 20 years, because then you can really see differences. Now we can see differences on a smaller level, or like on a beginning stage level. But those will be immense if they keep going in 10, 20 years.
Wait till you see my film, brother. It's going to blow your mind. I'm going to walk you through what El Salvador looked like in the 60s all the way to 2019. And during that period of time, the United States government funneled $7.5 billion into El Salvador and turned it over that period of time and turned it into the deadliest country in the world. Bukele comes in 2019. First thing he does is start cutting off funding from USAID and all these organizations, right? Starts investigating the corruption inside of his cabinets, gets rid of as many corrupt politicians as he can. Then at the 2.5-year mark, he had just started finishing those mega prisons. He had started building those prisons, right? Got those prisons, started putting cartel members in those prisons. And that's when the cartel members went on a murdering spree. Like, oh yeah, you're going to crack down on us? And they went around and they slaughtered in one day 63 innocent civilians. They just went on a rampage, and it didn't matter who you were. They were just killing people to kill people. And that's when there was so much. In that weekend, I think they killed 172, if I'm not mistaken, in one weekend, innocent people. So that created so much public outrage that even the Democrats on the left couldn't vote against Bukele on this one vote. That gave him the ability to suspend the Constitution. He then went and passed a law that stated basically any gang, if you're basically covered in from head to toe and you have teardrops and, that show how many people you've killed, you don't get a court date. You go straight to prison for life and you're never going to see the light of day again. And he's arrested 88,000 of the most deadly and violent gangbangers on the face of the earth. And he's turned out El Salvador. And then on top of that, then after that, he I believe this was at his last, he just got reelected, right? And this was his second 5-year term. I believe that day, on the day that he won his reelection, was the day that he ordered his entire cabinet. At some point, he comes in and he orders his sergeant at arms to investigate everybody in this room. And that was his entire cabinet. And I believe he got rid of one more, I think, Supreme Court judge and 2 more politicians, if I'm not mistaken. And they've also impeached the corrupt judges, which we're kind of seeing here in America. And that's why you see people like Bukele saying you got to impeach the corrupt judges. They're not following the Constitution. They have to go. But either way, he's now turned that country into the safest country in Latin America. Like you said, it is safe. The people are so happy there. Robin, I just bought property there, right? So I bought some land in El Salvador. And in the process of buying the land, I had flew down there to get the land and I had rented this truck. And I was like, okay, this big truck in El Salvador. Like could you imagine driving like a big 4-door truck on those small roads in El Salvador? I mean, they're tiny. You got this big truck and it ain't like roads in America or in Europe. I mean, it's tight. You can't move anywhere. So long story short, I was just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Sorry. I was like, I can't drive this truck. I'm just going to go buy a car. I was like, okay, cool. How do I buy a car? Oh, I need cash here. All right, cool. How am I going to cash? Oh, Bitcoin ATM, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go from ATM to ATM to ATM until I can get out enough cash. Well, by the time I got out enough cash, it was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I couldn't buy the car. So I'm just going to get an Uber home. Not realizing that there's 2 roads in El Salvador that are basically named the same thing. I copied what I thought was the address, and I searched it in Uber. And what popped up was they're the exact same road, but one of them had like something a little bit different in the front, and I clicked the wrong one. So me just being on my phone, I hop in this Uber and I'm not paying attention. I'm just like, man, it feels like we've been driving for a long time, but it's El Salvador. Sometimes you go 3 miles and it takes 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes like literally like 2 hours, right? So I was just like, whatever, not paying attention, just on my phone in the back of the car. 40 minutes later, I get to this place and I look around. I'm like, this doesn't look like my place. But when you get dropped off in El Salvador and you're going to all these other places, like a lot of times, like you don't recognize it, but then you like walk around the street, like, oh, that's where my place was, right? So I was like, okay, maybe the Uber dropped me off in the wrong. I get out. Now, remind you, I got like over $10,000 cash in my backpack, right? I get out of this Uber and I'm like, this ain't right. But I'm like, maybe it's right around the street. And I start walking and walking. I'm like, okay, this definitely ain't it. Now I go to my phone and I just hit my actual, like I had the address of my thing saved in there. And I look at my map and I'm like, dude, I'm 40 minutes away. And then I start looking around and I go, oh boy, I'm in a bad area. Like I got dropped off in a really bad area, or at one point was a bad area, right? These are the areas where, they're basically solid cement walls, but they're 12 feet tall and they're in front of your property, right? And then they don't just have the regular gates in front of their property. They have the solid steel gates. Like some of the places just have like a wooden door that opens and just kind of blocks people from like ramming through. And then certain areas have like the solid steel gates so that like if gunfire breaks out, like the bullets aren't going into the house. And then on top of that, they have the concertina razor wire on top of those cement walls. And then, so I'm like, now I'm walking around. I'm like, okay, how long is my next Uber to get here? I'm like, Uber. Shit, I order my Uber. It's 40 minutes away for the next Uber to get to me. So I'm like, shit, I got a lot of money. It's getting dark now, right? So now I'm 40 minutes after I left at 9 o'clock. So now it's probably getting closer to like 10:30, almost 11 o'clock. And I'm out in this really bad area. And I'm just walking for a second. Like, I don't know if I want to stand here and pretend like I look like I'm lost, or if I should just start aimlessly walking, right? And then kind of come back to meet my Uber back here. So I kind of paused there for a second, and all of a sudden I hear laughter and I hear footsteps. And the next thing I know, there's a 12 and a 13. I'm just guessing on age. It could have been 11 and 10. It could have been 14 and 15. But like, it looked like a 13 and a 14-year-old boy and girl laughing, kicking a soccer ball, come running down the road. And I look around a little bit more, and there's a family up on like up over this hill on their in their yard thing, having like this barbecue thing, right? And then there's this party store behind me, and there's this little girl out there, like by like the Coke sign and like waving, right? And I was like, oh, party store. I'll walk over to the party store. Walk in. It's just so nice, so polite, dude. I didn't have a worry in the world. 2 3 years ago, I probably would have been killed and robbed before I even made it into that party store in that area, right? Then you could see in the walls, because they're all that cement stucco, but they've been painted over, but you could see that you can, I mean, maybe it wasn't a bullet, but I mean, those dots are, pretty common for bullet, like a bullet hit that cement and left that little, divot there. So you could see the bullet holes all in these stucco walls. At one point, there were some shootouts there. So, that's what Bukele's done to that country. And how did he do it? Fix the money, right? At the first, this is their first year, I think, that they're going to have a surplus budget. So he's balanced his budget. He's eradicated the corruption from politics, and he cut off foreign money from influencing his country. And it's that simple. I mean, it is the safest, beautiful, happiest. I mean, if I could retire in some place, I think forever, I think it would be El Salvador, at the very least for the next 5 to 10 years, like you said.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this story I heard, I mean, not this story, but similar stories from people that have been to El Salvador before and came back, or have been living in El Salvador all the time. I've heard at least 3-4 times from completely different people. And it's amazing to see how safe it is again. Because once a country is safe again and the people are hopeful again, then things can build on top of that. If they don't feel safe, why should they build anything in the country? If they don't feel, if you want to build a business and you're not sure if one day a gang comes along and gets all your money and maybe kills your family, you will not build anything in that country. You're trying to survive or get out of the country. And the security that comes from that is really crucial to build anything. And then they also adopt Bitcoin. Then they're innovative, they're kind, they're loving personalities, and it's a safe, clean place. So I have a lot of hope for El Salvador. I do have a lot of I see a lot of positive things.
Yeah, Robin, I wouldn't let my 11-year-old son, and I live in a fairly rich, I would say, white community, right? I want to say rich, but a nice, there's probably not a home in this area for under $125,000, right? So it's like, and whatever. So it's got like a homeowners association. I wouldn't let my son walk to the park by himself, okay? In El Salvador, I was watching what looked like a 7-year-old girl walking her 5-year-old brother to school through a town that would remind me of like almost like Times Square, right? Like there were people everywhere. There were so many people that like traffic was like bumper to bumper, because like every time one car would go, you'd have to stop and wait for more people to cross the road. It was just like a never ending, people everywhere. And it wasn't just one, Robin. I seen a bunch all over the place. It looked like just kids were walking themselves to school without their parents. And I thought to myself, like, if I would have seen that anywhere else, I would have been like, dude, those kids are going to, one of these, it'll just be a day or two before somebody snatches one of these kids. In El Salvador, oh, no. It's like they've arrested all the criminals. And once they did, it's like normal people like us don't want to commit crimes, right? So when you put the true criminals in prison, and and people aren't incentivized to commit crime, right? Because in El Salvador, the punishment is you're in one of those prisons with those dudes, and you really don't want to be there. So whatever reward you're going to have to give me is going to have to be exponential. Like I'm not just going to go, start selling some drugs for some, from peanuts, right? I'm not going to go rob somebody's car so I can eat one time, because I might end up in that for years, right? So maybe just getting a job is the best way to go. And then you see these people, it doesn't matter if it's the person pumping your gas, it doesn't matter if it's the person flipping your burgers at Wendy's, or the waitress that's serving your Pizza Hut at Pizza Hut. they couldn't be more proud to be working. It's like you look at let's say a 21-year-old that's working at McDonald's in America or Wendy's in America, you're hoping they don't spit in your food. They look so miserable. In El Salvador, like they're all smiles. You need a napkin. And the sad part is like these people would give you the shirt off their back too, and they're the nicest, kindest, most humble and hopeful people in the world. And I think that El Salvador in 5 years will be the next Dubai. I don't think it's going to take 10.
I love that. And it will be awesome to look back at that conversation in 5-10 years and see, maybe we can even record it in El Salvador, make an in-person podcast there in 5 years and look back how the development has went. I think that's what I'm most excited actually about documenting in public. Then I can see in 5-10 years how clever or stupid I was at that time.
Well, we can record it at my place down there because I'm building, my house will be done. Well, it's actually getting shipped out here in about 2 weeks. I built one of those dome homes. I don't know if you've ever seen, they're like the giant bubbles.
Dome homes.
Yeah, man, I'll show you one. They're really freaking cool. They're like this. So it's the domebrothers.com is the company that I'm using. You guys can use code Matta over there. If you ever see one of these dome homes that you like, just use code Matta and they'll hook you up. They're an awesome group of guys, man. And you can get these homes for, depending on the size of so go to that one in the top. They're not the solid clear bubbles. They're So like that could be one of them in the inside, but the one on the right there with the two homes that are connected. Yeah, that's what they basically look like on the inside. That's what mine will look like.
Love that
but I'm building mine on the side of a mountain. So when you look out my front window like that, it's going to be over a mountain cliff.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. I've never seen dome homes.
Let me see if I can send you I think I got mine right here. I can send you a picture of what mine, in theory, is supposed to look like. It'd be pretty cool, man. I'm excited for it. That's for sure. So yeah, inside one of those, I'm going to build a giant studio. So it'll be a really cool place to record, I think.
As soon as it's finished, let me know. I will plan my trip to El Salvador.
and I'll have a place down there as well. So if you and your girlfriend ever need to go down there for a couple of days and you don't feel like renting a place, just let me know and I'll just you just stay at my place for free.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yep. So yeah, there's one down there in the mountains. That's it. Sweet, dude. I'm so excited, man. What do you got going on over the next? Where do you see yourself in the next 2 years?
You mean from the location?
Yeah, like where do you see yourself? Are you hoping to take what you're doing and move, or you stay and put where you're at?
There is two, like what I do, I can take wherever I want. I have zero income from Austria, so I'm currently living in Austria. So like, there's nothing binding me to Austria. I'm still very hopeful that maybe situations change for the better, and every day I'm kind of proven wrong and getting less hopeful in that regard.
For Austria?
Even in Austria, yeah. But I'm still hopeful. Maybe it's young and naive, but I'm still hopeful for Austria and Europe.